Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello, how are you doing today, Michelle?
I am excellent. Thank you for having me here.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us. So today we have Michelle with us. And you know what? I'm gonna let you do it, Michelle. Give us your full name. Give us what you can say about the company you work for, what you do, the field you're in. Give us the whole scoop. Go ahead.
All right. I am Michelle Bourque, and I work for Medtronic. I've been with Medtronic for about 14 and a half years. And for the entire time, I've been in the pain management space. So what that means is I work with patients who are either having spinal cord stimulators implanted or targeted drug delivery systems. They're similar in that they both deliver some sort of therapy to patients. The spinal cord stimulator delivers electricity to the spinal cord, and the targeted drug delivery system delivers medication to the spinal cord. And what I like to say is, we don't necessarily save lives, but we absolutely change lives. And a lot of times by the time we meet a patient, they're kind of at the end of their options. So I feel like what we do is so important.
What is the patient going through when they come across your services, what you sell? And do you really interact with patients a lot, or is it pretty much just with the provider, or how does it work?
Oh, we absolutely interact with patients. They have our cell phones, they call, they text, and we really are there to help with any technical questions. And, I like to always say that this job totally reminds me of all of the things that we take for granted, because I might complain, I have to do groceries on Sunday, and then I'll meet a patient for a trial. So with our spinal cord stimulators, there's 2 stages. They do a trial first to make sure it works for them before they actually move forward to implant. And we like to assess what the goals are at that time. And so often I have patients who will tell me, I just want to be able to go to the grocery store, or I just want to be able to sleep through the night. So they really are at this place where they need something to change in order to help them.
And so give us the day to day. I mean, what's the first thing you do? Do you have to find these patients? Are the providers finding the patients and then calling on you to go interact with them? Give us the whole morning to evening. What does the day look like for you, and how does everything happen?
Well, my morning starts at 3:15.
Wow.
So I like to get up early. I like to do the Peloton. I like to get my reading and journaling and all my brain work in. But then when we get ready for actual work, what you're saying, it's a combination actually, right? So part of the job is that we work with doctors who already have patients within their practice that say, hey, I think this patient is a good candidate. I want you to come in and discuss with them, give them the education, help answer any of their questions. Because a lot of times, honestly, patients don't even know that this therapy exists. And it's been around since the late 60s. It's crazy. That's part of our job too, right? Really educating the community to let the patients know at a quicker or earlier place in their treatment options. And so on one hand, we may work with the patients who are already in practice. And then on the other hand, it is that community education and hooking some of the primary care doctors up, maybe with pain management physicians. And so when they think there are appropriate patients to refer, that maybe the doctor thinks it's an appropriate option to work with Medtronic also. And so same thing, at that point, we would then help educate and really be with the patient through the entire line of treatment. So we work with them pre-education, we work with them during the trial, post-trial, implant, post-implant, the entirety of it.
What's the length of that? How long does that take, that entire?
So it really depends on how open and ready the patient is to move forward with the trial. A lot of times there's a little bit of concern, right? Because it's going to be an implanted item. So they have to really understand that and be comfortable in their mind. And so I would say on average, let's say 2 months before we start some of the pre-education, you have to wait for insurance to do the approval. They do the trial. Then there's usually 2 weeks in between before they meet with the surgeon. And so then we typically have to wait another month or so for the insurance to approve the implant. So it's not a quick process, but a lot of our doctors have great systems in place. So they work with surgeons and they kind of already have things teed up to make it as efficient as possible.
Got it. And you go from case to case. How many cases are you handling per day?
That depends. I can have a day as a salesperson that I have 0 cases, but maybe I have patient follow-ups and I have a colleague that might be in cases. There are days when we have 2 or 3 cases each. So it really varies. There's no typical day, which is what I love about the job. I feel like that's why I've been here for this long, because there is no typical day.
Definitely. And then, I didn't even ask, where are you located?
So I cover the Hudson Valley area of New York, which is about an hour and a half north of New York City, and then parts of lower and western Connecticut.
Got it. And you work on a team, or is this more of a siloed position?
So it's a team. I have one other colleague that we cover multiple counties within that territory.
Got it. And do you work with an associate sales rep as well?
No. So the way we have it set up is I'm the sales rep, and then my colleague is a clinical specialist. So really his main job, he is the point person for all of the cases. If there's only one case, he would typically be the person to cover for that. And then we just figure out the schedule the day before. I think that's the craziest part about the job. That was the biggest learning curve for me, is that you really don't know your schedule and you find it out the afternoon before.
And is it on call in any kind of way, or is it or you can at least, you don't know your schedule, but it's always within this span of time?
It's not on call in the same idea as a trauma rep where it's cardiac and it's life-saving, but there are instances, for example, with targeted drug delivery. If a patient shows up in the ER, oftentimes we are called because we need to take a look at the pump. They want to maybe make sure that it's not over-delivering medication, under-delivering. Honestly, it's usually never the pump, but we still have to go just to do the right thing and check it.
Got it. Fascinating stuff. So you're in New York. We're all experiencing what's going on right now with coronavirus. How has it impacted this space?
Oh, absolutely. I think, March especially was such a whoa, everybody needs to start thinking differently. Our surgeries for the most part are considered elective. So ours were shut down. And I say for the most part because my targeted drug delivery also entails baclofen. So for those patients, if the pump needed to be replaced, we actually did cover those cases because the patient could die if it was not replaced. So, I think it has offered an amazing opportunity for us to really think differently about how it is that we all do business. And are there more efficient ways to do it? Are there new technologies that we need to be looking at? I really try to embrace it in a way that how is this happening? How can we have this happen for us? What can we do to try to turn all of our thinking upside down and yet still help patients and be successful, right?
What does that look like? Anything you can share on what that looks like?
Yeah, so Medtronic has really been investing and looking at different ways to do remote interaction with patients and to be able to help them from distances. And also, we've launched some new waveforms and we have exciting information that was actually just coming out during the March timeframe. So training looked different, right? It was all virtual, and it's really looking at different ways to stay engaged with our physicians and to look at how to balance everyone kind of being webinared out, but still be able to provide all of the amazing information to them.
So when you say remote, going the direction of being remote, are you saying you can do your role from right here in your own office and get on the computer and start helping a physician go through a procedure?
So, well, not so much through a procedure, but for some of the post-op information, like post-op meetings and post-op education, we've been able to do more of that remotely. Interestingly, there was a case, I also work with radio frequency ablation. So we did have a case where the surgery center did not want me to come in because I was coughing and they just weren't really sure, right? So we were able to do that though via FaceTime, which I think in the past I would have felt so like, oh no, I need to be there. And I'm like, oh wait, it all worked out.
Right. How do you think that's going to play out in the future? I mean, do you really see an environment where you can do your role all from an office?
I don't know if my brain is open to that much of a change. I do think that we need to be in there. You know, we bring the equipment and then we also help the doctors, right? As far as if they're new and they're not entirely sure of the, full procedure, making sure everything is moving smoothly. But even aside from that, because the doctors totally get it, I think it's the interaction with the patients. A lot of times it's not even just the technical part of it, in my opinion. I feel like pain patients, there's also an element of like the thought process, right? And where they are and kind of reassuring them that it's going to be okay and educating them. And some of that I feel like you need to kind of do in person. And also if they don't have the accessibility to Zoom or to telehealth, then I think that's super important to just show them like, hey, I'm here and we care and we really want this to go well for you.
So in this type of role, it sounds like you're getting pretty close to a lot of these patients.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's interesting because I started out in human services. I thought I was going to become like a psychologist and I was going to save the world. And I did a couple of internships that were so sad. And I thought, this is not me. I'm too like goofy and I just couldn't seem to separate the two. And I feel like working in pain has been an amazing opportunity to kind of take part of that and be able to help people and still be able to make an effect in their lives. And for sure, patients, like I said, they'll call on weekends, text on weekends. They have questions. They want to, keep us up to date. I love that part of it.
So then is the relationship with the patients, is it something that once they have this spinal cord stimulator, you're still keeping up with them to make sure everything's working well?
Yes, that's a great question.
And be indefinite?
Correct. Yeah. So I kind of joke and I say like, we're married. Like once you get the implant, we are together till the end. So it really is making sure that they are doing well because sometimes they start to get used to it. They might need to make changes. Maybe something changes in their pain pattern. We need to get together. So it's important for them to know that they can contact us and we're there to help to make those adjustments. As pain is so dynamic. You need to have flexibility in the system to be able to accommodate for that.
That's excellent. That is excellent. So that actually brings me to my next thing that I'm sure everyone wants to know, where you came from and how you got into this space. So let's go back. What did you major in college? And let's jump into your first career. What was that?
So my first career out of college, well, I actually started in human services, like I mentioned, and then I went into English. I thought I was going to be a news reporter. And then I moved on to, I have my master's degree in public communication. I started working for the farm team of the New Jersey Devils. From there, I moved into sales for our local NBC affiliate in Albany, New York. And from there, I did pharmaceutical sales. I worked for GlaxoSmithKline for 5 years. And interestingly, I feel like the way I got into Medtronic was through karma. And that may sound crazy, but what happened was we went through a realignment with Glaxo. There was a woman who had an issue with where she was going. I suggested we could change. Fast forward, she ended up leaving. But one day I'm talking to this stranger in a local restaurant. Turns out his wife was the one that I offered to make the change for. And he said, I thought that was such a nice offer. We couldn't believe anyone would do that. And I really want to help you with your career. I work for Medtronic and we have this position open. I would like to help you.
Wow. That's a first right there.
It was never even on my radar. I had to go back and research, like, what does this mean? What are they talking about? I would be in the operating room, but it has changed my life. And I still keep in touch with him. He's made such a difference.
So what did you see in his offer that made you say, I'm going to make this jump?
Well, it's interesting. When I first started researching, so the position originally was in the deep brain stimulation division. And so when I did all the research on that, I thought this is amazing technology. Like you're literally, right, changing lives. And as it evolved and time went on, it moved into more of the pain division, which was awesome as well. And I thought it was so interesting to think that I would be in the operating room helping doctors do these cases and then work with the patients, but still have the element of sales where you can be creative and strategic and plan your business and all of that. So it just seemed like a perfect combination. In fact, I think I was kind of at the end of the pharmaceutical sales. I know you talk about this with the golden handcuffs. And I was just like, am I making a difference? I don't know, but I'm making money. And so it was that, back and forth. And he had the answer.
Yeah. Get it. Wow. And then, you've clearly found your calling because you've had 14 years in this space. You've had, consistent levels of success. This is going to be a really general question, but off the top, what's one of the things you've learned most about being just a contributing member of society in this space? What have you learned? I want to believe that you've learned things about people and how people think and how people operate. I mean, you spoke to it earlier about how people take advantage of the things they're able to do. What's that, in totality, what's that number one thing you can say that you've just learned about people in general?
I think, it's interesting. I think I've really learned that mindset is super important, even in the pain space. So I do the coaching, but I think from a patient standpoint, when I meet a patient and they think, I don't think this is going to work for me, then it usually doesn't go super well. I think that it's important with my colleagues, mindset is super important to think we're going to be successful or we're not, right? So I feel like overall, just how we all look at life and what we expect and the results that we're getting, so important. Full responsibility.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Talk to us about your coaching. That's something that, let us know when you started and what exactly you're doing in that space as you continue to be successful in your role.
So I started, talk about full responsibility. I guess this is probably where it ultimately stems from, is about 3 years ago, I probably was kind of like, what am I doing? We're always going. Like there's got to be more to life. And I thought the answer was to get certified as a life coach. And then I would start my practice and do that full time. But what I found was once I learned all the tools, I had to take full responsibility for my life. It had nothing to do with my job, and it was managing my time. It was being responsible, owning things, accountability, right? And so once I started to see that, I was like, wait a second, I can help more people like myself, right? So I love helping device reps who are kind of at a point where they think this job is taking everything from me. And really empowering, especially women, because I feel like this is generalized, but I do feel like for myself, I guess, what I found was I was so blinders on to take care of the patients, take care of the doctors, take care of the territory that I didn't take the time to stop and take care of my career development. And we have an employee resource group within Medtronic Aspire, which is amazing. And I was at a meeting one time and someone said, you need to stop and take ownership of your career development. And I think that's important for everyone. And it really is prioritizing and making yourself a priority so that everyone else benefits.
No, that's critical. I think we've talked about it. I think if you get so caught up in just the day-to-day, you quickly lose sight of where you want to take things for your own career. And then before you know it, 10, 15, 20 years have gone by.
Absolutely. And I think you have to be so intentional. I know you've talked about this also with the people you work with. I think being intentional on what it is that you want to accomplish and really taking the time. I don't think a lot of us take the time because you're going to stop and have space to just think, to like let your brain clear out and get creative on how you can come up with new solutions for your customers, for your patients, for yourself, and really make a difference.
So what changed? What was the biggest or the most marked change when you started to learn these tools and really apply them? What did you start noticing that was different in your own experience?
Oh my gosh, where I thought I had no control over my calendar. And I used to always say, I mentioned we don't know our schedule until the day before, but that does not mean I don't have control over it, because I absolutely do, right? I'm the one who shows up every day. And what I found was I could learn different tools to be able to organize my time in a more efficient way, so I'm able to do more. year on year, I've made increase in sales ever since doing coaching. I feel like mentally, I have never felt more peaceful. And then in addition to that, I've also started my coaching practice, developed an online course. Like, I just feel better overall. It's crazy. I feel like we know the magic to the universe, and I have to tell everyone.
Hey, that's a beautiful thing. And then, so, I mean, that's pretty expansive, right? Now, I like the fact that you've been doing this role for a good amount of time, and now you found almost like you found a whole new level of life within your role. Has this changed what you want for the future? I mean, and if you can, what did you think you wanted for the future before you started this, maybe back in 2014 or 15? And what's changed now with what you want for the future?
It's so fascinating because a lot of what I talk about is what you're thinking and how that creates the results in your life. And I know the exact thought that I borrowed from my rep that I worked with when I first started. And he said, listen, you just be a really good rep and you fly under the radar. And I feel like for years, that's what I did. I was just a really good rep and I flew under the radar. But then when I started coaching, I was like, no. I need to make a ripple effect in the world. Like, I need to step up, right? And if I'm going to share these tools, it has to change. Now, I feel like because I do think I want to make a bigger impact, I am much more open to like leadership opportunities. That is actually another thing that changed. I've stepped into more leadership roles within employee resource groups and any projects to take on. Like, you summed it up. It's just a whole different level, and it's so much fun.
That is awesome. I love to hear. I absolutely love to hear. Okay, so then let's go back to your actual role. What would you say the top 3 things are to be the best and really be an effective paying sales rep? What do you got to be doing?
Number 1, I say take full responsibility for all of your results, right? Because if we're blaming everything else out there and we're the victim, then we cannot change anything. So full responsibility. I think time management and prioritizing is also super important. And then 3rd, I would say really to take the time to think strategically. And I think the difference is people are busy, and busy is sometimes a badge of honor. And I think that we have that all wrong. I think we need to be productive and get results and not be busy. And that might look like you take some time to yourself to think, and that should not be frowned upon.
That's excellent. For those that are listening that want to get into this kind of field, what do they need to be mindful of going in?
Well, it's so fascinating because I've talked to a couple of candidates if they've been interviewing, and sometimes they don't call back. My boss is like, what did you tell them? Like, I told them the truth.
Wow.
There is, like, you have to have a work ethic here. It is something that is expected. Your doctors have questions and need solutions. Your patients need solutions. Like, you need to be on top of your game. And I think also just being open to change. Oh my goodness, that is for sure maybe the biggest thing, because I feel like change is the one constant. And if you want to keep up, you have to be willing to make those adjustments and not get in the mindset of this is how we've always done it. That is like nails on a chalkboard for me.
So the person needs to be pretty innovative, right? And think on the fly.
Absolutely. That is a great way to say it. Yes. Innovative, think on the fly, solutions-based thinking, and really have an amazing work ethic.
Got it. And then with leadership, what can you say? Or is there a difference in leadership in this space? Would you say that it's similar to other fields, or is there something different?
I don't know if I think there's anything different. I think leadership, really, the differences come with the different people, right? Like how anybody shows up in a particular role. I feel like for me, when I think about leadership, I think it's empowering your people, right? Trusting that they're going to be doing what it is and really observing and supporting in any way that you can to make the entire team successful. I feel like now my manager, she's amazing. I love her. And I feel like she totally has us like in a winning direction. And I feel like that energy is so important. So I think specifically within my leadership, that's amazing. Have I had other opportunities with maybe not the same leadership? Yes. Are there maybe differences? Yes. But I think that's across the board in any field.
Right. No, I get it. And then with the patient involvement, not every, especially in medical device sales, not every field has this level of patient involvement. What is someone that wants to take this on? What do they need to understand about that?
So that's an excellent question. And back to your previous one about even when I'm speaking with new hires, I make that very clear because there are a number of roles that are medical device that you go in, you do your thing, and you go out. And this really is something that has to be understood, that there may be times that you have to talk to a patient and it's on a weekend and you're at lunch with your husband. Like, it has to really be something that when you're signing up for it, you understand. And I hate to use the word balance, but there is this, right, give and take. So it's not 9 to 5, and someone really needs to be clear on that and okay with that. And it works for a lot of people and it doesn't for some. But what's important, in my opinion, for the sake of any company and for the sake of the new hire, is that that is super clear so that you're not starting under different assumptions of what the job actually is.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, then let's jump to your coaching now. What's the kind of person that you specifically invite into your coaching practice? I know there's a lot of people listening that are going to want to know what that's about. So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I love specializing and helping women really be able to take control of their calendar and to find life outside of work so that they can actually excel in their career, but without the stress and overwhelm, to really allow them to be able to like do more of what they want.
Now, is it medical device focused or even pain management focused, or is it corporate focused? What's the focus?
Yeah, when I first started, and I have some people that are kind of like busy professional women is how they would identify themselves. But lately I find I'm helping more specifically device reps because I get that, right? Like that's where I'm from, and I know the issues and I know the pain points and I know I've done the work, so I can help you.
Right, that makes perfect sense. And how can they find you?
So the best way to find me is MichelleBourqueCoaching.com, and Bourque is Bourque. So MichelleBourqueCoaching.com has all of the goodness there.
Excellent. Well, Michelle, it was amazing speaking to you today, and it's I really love what you're doing, especially with the coaching practice. I think it's so cool for you to notice that there's a definite need in your space, and you like you said, you saw how you can contribute in a bigger way, I can show up in a bigger way, and you took it upon yourself to create something that is helping people today. So that's beautiful. Thank you again. And is there anything else you'd like to leave with our audience before we sign off today?
No, I just want to say thank you so much. I love watching and learning all of what you're doing. So thank you for this opportunity.
Definitely. Talk soon, Michelle. Take care.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive-level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.